Welcome back to Hermitcraft Season 10, this is episode 14, and in today's Hermitcraft episode we're going to be continuing on from where we left off. Big Ron's was constructed last time. It was one of my favourite things that I've worked on in ages. For those of you who missed it, I tried something a little bit different. I worked from some concept art that I created and drew out, and then also I made a little business card for it, and that informed all of the decisions that I made for the build itself. It was a super rewarding experience, and I think the build has come together really nicely because of it. Now actually, there's one detail that I want to add in that a lot of people were suggesting down in the comments, which I think is absolutely genius. So this O theoretically fell down from the sign, and a lot of people were saying that I should make it so it looks like it's burned out. So let's see, if we leave it black, that kind of looks a little bit weird, but if we dye it red but then don't add the glow ink, that is perfect. Okay, nice, that's a really fun finishing touch. So now, let's move on to the next build. And once again, I'm going to do some concept art for it. So the thing that I want to create now is the log storage. Just to give you a quick recap, along this line here, we're going to have shops in inverted commas. They're not actual shops, but this is where all of my personal items are going to be stored. So Big Ron's is the redstone store, it's the technology store. Next to it is going to be Willys Woodyard. So this is where all of my logs and all of my wooden blocks are going to be kept in my storage system, and I wanted it to look like a kind of old-fashioned woodyard, you know, one that was established maybe in the early 20th century. It's been owned by multiple generations. It's had little things added to it over time. It's had bits upgraded here and there. There's multiple different layers, and I like the idea that Willy actually lives at the woodyard. He lives above the area where all of the work gets done. So there's some nice finishing touches and little homely bits up there, but all of the business stuff, that happens down at the bottom. So we've got things like table saws, we've got all of the log storage. That's the business end of Willys Woodyard. There's going to be multiple different wood types in this build, which kind of reflects the different woods that were available to Willy over the years as he was constructing up this woodyard here. And then we're going to have a sort of corrugated iron mimicking roof, I think. I don't want it to look expensive. I want this to look really basic. I want it to look like Willy really was resourceful and used everything that he had to hand. But, you know, this is a very old woodyard, and sadly, Willy has passed away, and now it's Willy Jr.'s woodyard, and he has some slightly different ideas for what the business is going to be, and that's reflected in some of the signage, and we'll get onto that. Because, of course, just like last time, I have gone overboard. I have, of course, designed a business card for this thing, and somebody put into words exactly the reason why I did this down in the comment section of the previous episode. They said that the concept art of the building gives you an idea of the building, but the concept art of the business card gives you an idea into the person. So the building informs the business card informs the person, and the person informs the creative decisions that you make when building it in Minecraft. I love this. So without further ado, let's look at what I've done for Willy's Woodyard, or should I say Willy Jr.'s Woodyard. As I say, this is a multi-generational business. It has been in the family for a long time, but Willy Jr. has a passion, okay? He doesn't mind doing all of the wood stuff, you know, he's happy carrying on the family name and staying in the wood business, but what he absolutely loves doing is carving spoons. And he really wants to create a bigger side to the spoon carving business, but unfortunately it's not really taking off quite how he hopes, so he is still supplying all of the standard wood stuff reluctantly. But in his dreams, he is crafting spoons day in, day out. So there it is. There is the woodyard and the business card next to one another. This is what we're going to be working from when it comes to constructing this thing. So we have got quite a lot of resource gathering to do. Oh, goodness gracious me, I'm out of here. It is too early in the morning for those sorts of shenanigans. And to be frankly honest, it seems to be too early in the morning for me to work out what sort of resources I need. I mean, I've been looking at this drawing and other than just wood, I can't think of anything. Okay, copper, tuff, prismarine, and various different types of stone for the roofs. 4 or 5 different types of wood. A bunch of other detail stuff. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I think this will work best as a little time lapse. Now, none of these resources are particularly hard to gather, and to be honest, I don't really need too many of them in large quantities. But I have a bit of a problem. You see, when I get into a flow state with building, and when I'm in the zone, and I'm working on something, I want to be completely uninterrupted. And the idea of having to go off and gather up a ton of extra resources or spend time away from the building project. That scares me. I don't enjoy that in the slightest. So I've gone overboard. I've gathered way too much stuff, which hopefully means in the future, I should also have enough for future builds. At least, that is my theory. And just as my resource gathering mission was over, Cubfan popped over with something to show me.
I need your help.
Right, okay, in what way?
I'm making a custom firework for every hermit, and I need you to approve this firework or give me some insight onto what you'd want instead.
Alright, okay. This is kind of exciting. Wow, I'm loving whatever those are.
Yeah, welcome back to the age of jive, my guy. It's disco time.
All right, okay. Do I just right click it on the floor? Is that the way to go?
Yeah, fire it off.
Okay, here goes.
Here we go.
That's good. That is perfect.
You like it, okay.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Am I allowed to shoot another one? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can shoot as many as you want off. You're gonna be getting a bunch of these for free too. So
that is good.
There you go.
That is really, really good.
I tried to incorporate some elements of your skin, some of the black suit, some of the red tie, some of the white,
Yeah.
So,
and like also sometimes when the bottom of the creeper, like when the eyes get covered on the creeper face, it kind of briefly looked like my mustache. Like there was a brief moment where I thought you had done some absolute wizardry and there was a mustache.
Yes, I was hoping there would be like a mustache, like Unicode symbol, but I had to go with the jive guy once I saw him. I thought that fit you well, man.
Yeah, oh wow, that's cool. Now it is time to finally start work on the build. As is tradition, I have put off placing the starting blocks for as long as possible. I've just been standing around. I've been trying to think of anything to do other than start this build, so I'm just going to grab some blocks. What blocks? What blocks should I start with? Is this a good place? I mean, it's tricky, right? There's not really that much space here. We don't really have room for a path. So this would be the little extending front section that pops out the front, and then we're going to have the main build itself. It's kind of going to go in behind here, so I have to round off Ron's and make sure that this part is at least finished. I am having trouble. I am trying my best to just lay out the bare template, like the very rough guideline of what this thing is going to look like, and even that I'm struggling with. How does it look from all the way back here? I mean, barely indistinguishable from the dirt, but I would say proportions-wise, do we have the right size? It could probably do with being a bit bigger. Gosh, I just want it known. I hate everything about this at this point in time. I really, really do. I can't quite make the space work. Like, we've got such little space to work with here for this build. I kind of hadn't realized how much of a corridor this area was. But I think to give you an insight as to what I'm going to do, down here, I'm going to have like a little boulder field, and then there's going to be trees that are sprouting up that will probably be level-ish with this area, some popping up a little bit higher, so that should kind of help the feeling of there being a void here. It should feel like there's something going on here, something going on there, they're all connected. And of course, up at the top on that walkway, I am going to actually add in path blocks and moss blocks and do some terraforming and some vegetation up there as well, because right now this is a bit of a pants canvas to build from, to be honest with you. Despite saying I was going to lay out the foundations and not do any detail stuff, I have started doing detail stuff and sort of mixing in textures and things. My brain just does not work on the flat planes. It's a bit like when I'm editing film footage, I have to color grade it before I'm looking at it in the timeline, otherwise I can't make sense of it. So we've got our table saws, and then we have lots of just bits of wood and sawdust that are lying around. I will add to this eventually, but I just wanted to get it in there. If I add some signs into the mix on this, does that help? Yeah, I mean, that looks almost like a workbench now. I mean, it definitely looks like my workbench at home, but mine's actually more messy than this. I'm so bad at cleaning up my scraps of wood. I just leave them there until they get in the way when I'm cutting the next piece of wood, and then I get frustrated. I'm going to try and create this corrugated iron roof, and this is the part that I'm a little bit nervous about. My goodness, these are expensive. Oh my word. Right, I'm going to use those incredibly sparingly. Does this work? Does this work? Does this work? I mean, it kind of does. I don't know if it works that well when you're close up, but when you're looking at it from afar, it actually kind of works. I actually think that works quite well. Okay, just testing out things here. Maybe A few metallic blocks like this could really help us. I also can't decide if I want the edge blocks or not. I mean, I had them in the design, in the concept art, but I think that kind of helps to take the edge off a little bit. Again, absolutely none of these decisions are finalized, and it's definitely a working process, this build. Progress. It's a work in progress. A work in progress. How did I mess up that saying 2 different ways? Oh, the sign is good, though. Okay, the beginnings of the sign is good. It's funny how things like that start to really bring things together. So we need 6 mangrove hanging signs. Do we do hanging signs, or do I place things on the inside of here and then have signs on the outside? I think the hangers. I really like the edges of the hangers. They just feel much more 3D. Now, the next sign related question is, obviously, we're going to dye these white because that's what I did in the concept art and I think it's nice. Do we go for glow squid? I mean, I think it's just more legible. Like, I do think it's a little bit too bright, but I think the added stroke that it adds on the blocks connects up all the blocks and makes them easier to read. Yeah, like, that is great. I should probably walk around a little bit more so I can read the S. That looks so good. Okay, I'm happy with that. What I'm having a slightly more challenging time with is the side area. So with the concept art, I kind of had this corrugated iron area that wraps around the entire build, and I'm trying my best to do that within the space that we've got. I don't think it's going to extend particularly far around the back, but I am going to add some storage back here, I think. One thing that maybe could ease things is, yeah, if I place in some little copper trapdoors, that maybe makes it look less like these things aren't connected at all. There is some connection there. That is slightly better. This build is looking really, really good from this sort of angle. It's just when you start getting up close, I don't know, it's a little bit tricky. I think it's because I can't actually view it from a good angle. I'm always kind of underneath it. It's like if I could only look at Big Ron's from here, I probably wouldn't be that happy with it. It's only when you start moving away that it looks good. And like, for example, right now, Willys is looking great. Thankfully, this is going to be the last build that I'm going to struggle for space on, because the rest of them are all going to be constructed in much bigger open areas. Let's push on to the next level, and then we can worry about the details later. The first thing I had to do is add the corrugated iron around this level, and I think that looks cool. There's like a bunch of different layers going on here, so it feels pretty dense with detail. I've also added in some dark oak underneath here to mimic shading. This is something that a few people were pointing out down in the comment section, that you can actually kind of paint with blocks. I know this is something that BOO does quite a lot. He keeps in mind where the dark spots are going to be and then use darker blocks there. And I've tried my best to do it here, and I think it looks good in this example. But man, does my brain not work in that way just yet. Now, if we look back at our concept art, the next layer is definitely much more mangrove in tone. So I'm going to start working on that now. And I am really curious about scale on this one. The thing is, I don't want this shop and Big Ron's to line up height-wise. I want there to be a slight difference between them. It's going to be kind of tricky. I also thought this would be a good time to actually connect up Big Ron's and Willys. So I've extended Big Ron's sign a little bit, and I've also capped this off here. And I think that looks cool. Yeah, that definitely looks cool. That looks good. And it's going to look even better now that it's got a little roof on it. Now I'm going to skip a bunch of steps once again and get the final layer in, which I would say, looking at my concept art, is probably jungle woody. I really did massively overgather wood for this build, didn't I? This is excessive. Okay, that's interesting. Stripped jungle wood is definitely brighter than the planks, so I'm actually going to have to flip this gradient around. I'm not necessarily thinking massively in terms of gradients for this build. However, they are there. They're just quite subtle. I'm also throwing in a little bit of terracotta into the mix. Oh, or granite. Ooh, granite's quite nice as well. Ooh, that looks quite good. Maybe I can throw that in. Yeah, kind of mix it in here and there. That is actually quite nice. So what are we thinking in terms of proportions? That is pretty good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. It's suitably wonky. It's got the right kind of scale going up. And now that I've connected up the roof of Big Ron's to it and also added a corrugated iron roof to this section as well, I think it should be looking like a pretty solid build and a pretty solid part of our street. It is, and it's looking Yeah, this is cool. This is cool. There's still a lot going on, and there's still a ton of things to do. There's loads of details that I need to add. I think, again, now is a good time for us to reflect on the concept art and also the business card I've got. Now it's time to start thinking how I convert this build into something that really tells the story of what I've drawn here. But that frankly sounds like quite a lot for my brain. I've got a business meeting to do with Zedaph. In the previous Hermitcraft episode, Zedaph offered me a business deal and then left. But I am very much interested in his business deal because it involves slime. And slime is something that I have lots of. Gosh, this forest is beautiful. I'm stood next to a cabin in the woods while recording from a cabin in the woods. This is lovely. It's been a while since I've been over here, and there was a lot of rebuilding and deconstructing of the slime farm, so I'm glad to see that I left it constructed. Oh, well, it turns out Tango's been by, and he's taken some slime, but he's left loads of blocks of iron, which is actually really useful, because I can sell these. I've been feeling very guilty about the fact that I haven't done anything with my iron permit yet. I'm going to be working on it, but this allows me to actually have some stock. Right, let's grab some slime balls. Hopefully this will be enough to satisfy Mr. Zedaph, and now we meet.
Have you got said slime balls, Mumbo?
Oh, I've got better than slime balls. I've got slime squares.
Holy moly, squares are better than balls, you're right. Oh my goodness, you got so... Oh, you're showering me in them. They just keep coming, what's happening?
It's a lot. It's a lot. I brought lots. Yeah.
A ton. Okay, well, so, right, I'm going to hold one in one hand and one in the other.
Yep.
You know the deal. I've got blaze rods, you've got slime squares now, clearly.
Yep.
If we make these have a baby, we can make some beautiful magma blocks that I will sell, I have the permit for, and I will share everything 50-50 with you.
That sounds like a very good deal. I mean, I'm not really doing anything with the slime balls at this point in time, or my slime squares. I genuinely did not realize that you could craft magma blocks. This is like...
here, right now. Figure it out. Look at you doing things for the first time.
Wow, my first time holding a blaze rod. How long's the server been up? Gosh, that's a little bit embarrassing, I must say.
You don't even need a crafting bench. You can do it all within yourself, in your own soul.
Right. So I go. Is it blaze powder? How does this work?
Yeah, blaze powder. You know it. You can just follow your heart, Mumbo. You can make this happen.
Okay, I've got the magma cream. Okay.
You have. And then...
Oh, wow. I made this.
There it is.
I did this with my own creation. It works brilliantly. Yeah,
it's hot stuff.
It's a good one. Goodness me.
There you go. And that's what we're going to sell. That's what we're going to be selling people is the hot stuff.
Wow. Nice.
And we'll split it 50-50 in diamonds, and you and I will be rich before we know it.
Oh, yeah, because magma blocks, like... People, that's the hot seller of the season, I think.
Exactly. They will be selling like hotcakes. Exactly. Because they're hotter than that.
Exactly. The hottest of cakes, yeah. That could be the name of the shop. Well, this has gone well. This has been quite an easy deal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice.
I wanted to make it easy. You know, you complete me, Mumbo, with the slime squares. So why not just, give you a fair deal straight off the bat? I don't want to mess you around or anything. I realize I'm now sounding more like I'm trying to trick you.
Now I'm starting to feel like I might have walked into something.
I know, I feel suspicious now. I promise I'm not. This is genuine, and yeah, this is fantastic. I've just built a new Whack-A-Sheep game up here. It's 2-player, and you're a second person.
I am a second person.
Are you up for whacking some sheep with me?
Of course, I'm always up for whacking sheep. That's like my favorite pastime, actually. 3, 2, 1, go!
Whack the sheep! What color am I again? I forgot.
You're yellow.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hang on. I think you've rigged it.
Oh no, that's pink. Did you get one yet? Ha ha ha! Yes, very good.
Oh, God.
They're so popping.
Oh, it's too difficult.
Oh, they're naked.
Some
sheep don't count.
Oh, ah, yes.
Oh, you sneaky sheep. Oh, I got him. I forgot to put a timer on.
What's the strap?
That one's naked. Should we say 3 more pop-ups?
Okay.
That's 1. 4.
Yes.
Yo. 2. And the final pop-up. Oh, then... Wait, 1 more.
Okay, one more. Oh, yes!
Oh, no, I should have said 1 more.
Oh, no, I got a lot of wool from that one. That might be the cincher.
That one was a hairy sheep.
That was a hairy sheep, yeah, for sure.
Okay,
a lot of wax.
We'll swap, shall we? Here we go. Ready? And...
Oh!
Wow, that was close.
Well, that was the weirdest business meeting I've ever had. Let's get back to building the details on Willys. First thing I need to do is add a little bit of shading onto this part of the corrugated iron roof. Because these two roofs are quite close to one another, when you're far away, they kind of merge in. It's difficult to tell them apart. So I want to add some shadow here. And I think that has kind of worked quite well. But I guess it does mean that I now need to add shadows to kind of all of this side. Like this area kind of needs to be darker than this one, I suppose. I might have opened a very challenging can of worms here. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'm going to add all of the details into this area first, and then I'll potentially start looking at shadows. There's a chance that it won't need it. This sign is barely legible, but I'm very happy that I have it. Oh, also, I think I've worked out what I don't like about this layer in particular, and that is, with the shadow situation, these blocks are by far the brightest. These are by far the brightest, so they should go in the middle. And then I think the plank should go on the edges, and the strip logs should go in the middle as well. Yeah, I kind of need to flip this whole thing around. Otherwise, though, the addition of this little thing and some of the details has made this area look a lot nicer. I'm really liking the feel of this place, and I definitely think that these windows on the front face are going to make a big difference, because these are kind of the key feature of the mangrove area. When I look at the concept art, we've got these two wonky windows that were obviously installed by Willy years and years ago. So I've put the little mantles on. What are these called? Windowsills? Yeah, they're called windowsills. I've also added these little things above. I mean, I don't really know what to do here, because I like the idea of there being window frames, but I couldn't think of a good way to do it. But the addition of these, yes, yeah, it has made the whole front side a lot less blank. The build looks even more wonky now, which is exactly what I want. And Willys is now properly coming together. So I've added a few more of the windows up on the jungle layer, and I think this thing is now finally starting to look like a completed build. So let's add some details to the details. Detail on the details number 1, the giant spoon sign. I think if I extend that out over here, yeah, that should be dangling in a good zone. Does this actually look good? I think I need to change up. Maybe I need to use fence gates instead of fence posts. I just feel like that looks a bit weird, that hanging over the edge. Yeah, it definitely looks weird. Okay, this might be one of those things that I did almost in a non-Minecrafty way in the concept art that then isn't going to translate that well into Minecraft. Oh yeah, the fence gates look 1,000 times better though. This is good. I wonder if the mounting point that it's coming off of should be better. Like, I wonder if I do something like that, and then, oh, give me a second. If I then get some minecart rails and kind of run them along like this, as if it's some kind of structural support, does that look good? I personally think that looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks much, much better. Except I would say now that we've got the signs on, it's a pretty long arm that this thing has. I would say this could do with being at least 1 or 2 blocks back. Yeah, probably 1 block back. It was 2 blocks back. That looks a lot better. Again, comes the age-old question. Do I glow squid or do I not glow squid? I think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm gonna glow squid it. I just think it always looks better, and it makes it actually legible, to be honest with you. I was considering being really lazy and only doing one side of the sign, but don't worry, I am meticulously copy and pasting each of the letters over from one side to the other. So now this thing says spoons in bright colors, not only on that side, but also on this side as well. Fantastic. I would say we're getting towards the point of completion on this build. One thing that I do need to do is I need to do all of the terraforming around the base here. And I think I'm actually going to swap out these log blocks for tough blocks. I think that looks a lot better. It kind of looks like cinder blocks holding up the roof, which is exactly the sort of vibe that I want to create here. Now, there is one other thing that's in the concept art that I haven't actually done yet, which is the chimney. And this is something that I'm kind of not 100% certain how I'm going to pull off. So I definitely think various different types of deep slate walls with the occasional tough wall and maybe some hoppers is the way to do the chimney. And if I connect all of that up to a little blast furnace that I make look significantly better than this, how are we looking? I like it. I think I like it. Or at least I think I like it, the idea of it. I think there's some tweaking to be done, but I think it looks kind of good. I actually think it needs to, well, it definitely needs to come back this way a little bit, and I think it needs to go a little bit taller. How does this look? Is this better? I feel like this should be better. I'm now on fire. Oh, and I'm in pain. I think the big problem is it kind of blends in a little bit too much with the roof, so it starts to look a tiny bit messy. Yeah, I'm kind of second guessing it now. I feel like it needs to be not there. To be honest with you, actually, I'm looking at it. I've spent longer staring at it, and I think I'm just not a fan. I prefer the way this place looks without the chimney, and to be honest with you, wasn't really sure what the motivations for the chimney were. Like, I didn't really know what a chimney would be doing in a woodyard. It kind of didn't really make too much sense. I will say, I do like the isometric smoke that I drew in the concept art. That was nice, but that is not something that I can do in Minecraft, so it's kind of irrelevant. Maybe if we just keep a super small chimney in there, as if this is like a generator that's powering the machinery, that's kind of a nice idea. That's like a happy medium. So with the chimney now sorted and a bunch of extra details added, Willys Woodyard is now all completed. And I gotta say, this was a challenge. This one was really, really tricky. Not only was the build itself hard to create, but actually the concept art took me a very long time as well. There was a lot of layers, a lot of dimensions, and I knew it was going to be challenging to recreate in Minecraft. But I have to say, I'm pretty proud of myself. I think the proportions are nice. I think the way that it scales up and the way that it interacts with big Rons is great. That's one thing that I was slightly concerned about, but I think these exist in the same universe whilst looking fundamentally different from one another. This still feels dense with detail. This still feels like it's lived in. It feels like it's part of the universe that is this area. If we pull up the concept art and the business card on screen right now, I would say I've done a pretty good job at staying true to them. I'm really proud of how these came together, like the actual artworks themselves. So I'm incredibly pleased that I've been able to do those justice. Yeah, I think this looks great. I think this is wonderful. I think it is a great addition to the base here. So thank you so much for joining me on this building adventure. The past 3 episodes have been incredibly building heavy, and you know what? I've loved every second of them. But man, I'm starting to feel a little bit guilty about my iron permit. We should probably do something about that.